Monster, how should I feel? Creatures lie here, looking through the window. Monster, how should I feel?
Hey viewers, my name is Plastic Duck, and today I'm going to be showing you my Feral Druid guide for patch 5.0.4. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and favorite it, and also leave a majestic comment below. Alright, I'm going to start off by introducing you the new stat priority list for Feral Druids. It goes Agility, 3% hit rating, PvP power, PvP resilience, mastery, crit, haste, and 3% expertise. Now, don't do what I did and not realize I wasn't capped on expertise, and every time I would duel somebody, they would just dodge my attacks because I only had like 1% expertise, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Till finally I went and looked into it, and I was like, oh, I'm not expertise capped. So you gotta have that 3% expertise or you're just gonna get dodged. And make sure that you have 3% hit rating. Now, in patch 4.3, hit rating was 5% and they've lowered it to 3. Now, if you were like me, I had to go and reforge some of my stats on my gear into hit rating, and I looked at this patch and I had 7% hit, and I was like, whoa, I am way over hit cap. So I went and I got a shit ton more mastery and crit and all that good stuff just because they lowered the hit rating. So make sure you go and do that so you're not wasting useful stats on something you don't even need. Alright, PvP power. Now, I've done a little experimenting and it ain't worth it to switch. I've seen a bunch of druids switch every gem they have just straight up PvP power, and it is not worth it. I mean, we need our mastery gems. I'll show you what gems to get, but what PvP power does for us right now, it increases all damage done to players and their pets or minions, and increases healing done in PvP zones. Now, what it basically does is it reduces the benefit of our target's PvP resilience. So in a way, I guess you can think of it as the more PvP power we have, it lowers our resilience, which means more damage. So that's basically what PvP power is. Alright, so for the gems we need, they're listed right here. For our red sockets, we go straight up agility. For our yellow sockets, we go 25 PvP power and 25 mastery. Now, I'll explain it here in a little bit why I don't go 25 PvP power and 25 agility. And for our blue socket, we just straight up go PvP power. I mean, we're just gonna rip through their armor, their resilience. I mean, yeah, ooh yeah. But yeah, those are the gems we need to get. Alright, so for reforging our gear, what you want to do is you always want to reforge into mastery or crit. But you gotta remember, mastery is always the number one. So like this headpiece, I have mastery and expertise. I'm expertise capped, I'm way over. So I'm going to take that expertise and reforge it into crit. Now for my shoulders, I have haste and expertise. Now haste comes before expertise. As long as we're still capped, I'm going to reforge that into mastery, because mastery is number one. And then for my bracers, I have crit and hit. I'm way over hit capped, so I'm going to reforge that hit into mastery. So just always remember that mastery is number one and crit's number two, but also make sure you're hit capped and expertise capped. If you're not, you want to reforge into those. Alright, so for those of you that are wondering why the frick is Plastic Duck stacking so much goddamn mastery, and this is the reason right here. This was no attacks, no nothing, just straight up a pounce bleed, a rake, and a rip. No other attacks, just straight up bleeds. And look how much damage it's doing to this full Cataclysmic Shaman. It's brought her below half HP, and if I was spamming shred and stuff along with those bleeds, she'd be dead so fast. I mean, you couldn't even say shit. I mean, that's why I stack mastery, is just because the bleeds are so awesome to have right now. Alright guys, here's a list of all the enchants that you have the options of getting. Now, for the chest piece, I went with the Peerless stats. It just increases all stats by 20. I took that over the resilience. and there went a truck that just drove past. And for the boots, I chose Lava Walker, obviously, because it gives me 35 more mastery and increases our movement speed by 8%. And for the leg armor, I went with, how do I pronounce that? Char Scale leg armor. Increased stamina by 145 and agility by 55. Now that's just what I went with. I'm not telling you how to play your tune, I'm just throwing out suggestions, and this is what I've done. So those are the enchants that I went with and that you can go with if you want. Alright guys, so now I'm going to explain what talents and glyphs that I took that I thought would be beneficial for Feral PvP. Alright, I took Wild Charge strictly because I love what it gives us when we charge in bear form. It basically locks the player down for 4 seconds. They can't move. It's just like a root. They can't move for 4 seconds, and then while they're in that, we can switch to cat form, pop a cooldown, and just rape their ass. And in cat form, we can leap behind them. Moonkin, it throws you backwards like disengage. In travel form, it throws you 20 yards forward. Now with Displacer Beast, I have a lot of people ask me, Plastic, why don't you take Displacer Beast? Vanish like a rogue. And I'm like, well, with Displacer Beast, problem with that is if I have a bleed up on me and I also have like a dot and I use that to get away, it's just gonna take me out as soon as that dot ticks. And so now I'm 20 yards away and they're just gonna free cast on me if they're ranged DPS, and I can't get back over to them, so there's really no point in having that. I went with Nature's Swiftness just because it makes sense. Free cyclone, a free heal. The healing and duration of the spell is increased by 50%, so our healing touches are just ridiculous right now. I chose Fairy Swarm. Now this one's kind of a toss-up. Fairy Swarm and Typhoon. I mean, Fairy Swarm it reduces their movement speed by 50%. Other than that, it's the exact same thing as Faerie Fire, reduces their armor. And I guess that's alright for like ranged kiting for like a hunter. But the reason that talent I don't really like it is because of this right here, Infected Wounds. Every time we hit them, it reduces their movement speed by 50. So, I mean, Typhoon's just the way to go. The only reason I'm spec'd into that right now is because I was out dueling some hunters and it really comes in handy. But other than that, Typhoon, it just knocks them back, can interrupt a spell. So that one's pretty cool. Okay, I chose Incarnation. It allows us to turn into this armored badass cat, and it lets us use Pounce and Ravage and Stealth and all those moves without being in actual stealth. We can do it while just fighting. And Incarnation, Berserk, and Ravage together is just pure rape. I mean, you can spam that Ravage and it just kills them so fast. Now Force of Nature, I've tried that and it is not worth it. The Trents only do like, what, 1200 damage each, so it really ain't worth it. Now I chose Mighty Bash over Disorientating Roar, mainly just because any damage done will cancel the effect, but if you're spec'd into Mighty Bash, they'll have to sit through it for 5 seconds. And at level 90, it's gonna go straight up Nature's Vegal, if that's how you say that. Increases all damage and healing by 20%. I mean, that's a lot. So you put all that into a macro, you're just gonna there isn't even a word to explain the damage that we're gonna do with that. I mean, and that's why I chose that. Alright, glyphs. I went with Glyph of Shred. While Berserk or Tiger's Fury is active, Shred has no positional requirement, which is pretty good. I chose Glyph of Savagery. This one right here is a must. I don't care who you are, you gotta have that glyph. It allows us to use that while in stealth and without having any combo points. Now, what Savage Roar does in this patch is it increases all our physical damage done by 30%, and bleeds do count as physical damage, so that's also another reason why I'm rolling Mastery, because our bleeds do so much goddamn damage. So you gotta have that one. And Glyph of Cat Form, when I'm outside dueling people, I use that one. But if I'm in a battleground or something, I'll normally use Bark Skin or Fey Silence. That one's really good. We finally have a silence, but we have to use it in bear form, and it triggers a 15-second cooldown. So that one's pretty good. Some other ones that I like is Nature's Grasp. We got nerfed on our Nature's Grasp. It no longer roots them 3 times, only once. So having that is pretty good. It just reduces the cooldown to 30 seconds instead of 1 minute. And that's really all the glyphs that I would use. The minor glyphs, they're pretty much just screw around glyphs, have fun. I mean, glyph of stag is pretty hot. That way Ginger Baby can mount me and we can just look hot. if that's the way you want to put it. But other than that, they're just stupid dick off glyphs. I mean, they're not worth anything. And yeah, that's my glyphs and talents. You don't have to do that. That's just what I do. But yeah. Alright guys, I'm going to show you the basic Feral Druid opener. Now, everything is situational when you're playing a Feral Druid. I mean, it all depends on the class you're fighting, the comp, everything. Now, the basic one that I do, I start out in stealth. If you're glyphed into savagery, you can use Savage Roar, get that up. And what I do is I go in, I start off with a pounce, then I use a shred, and then I pop Tiger's Fury, rake, and then a couple more shreds, and then rip. Now, if you don't have any lag at all, I can do that before they're even out of their pounce, and then you can just shadow meld and then go redo it again. I mean, it's a pretty basic opener, but yeah, that's the basic opener that I use right there. Alright, so now the full rotation that I use, like I said, it's all situational depending on what you're doing. I'm just gonna reopen, go pounce, shred, Tiger's Fury, rake, a few more shreds, and then rip. Then just after that I keep spamming shred. But also you gotta remember to keep your Savage Roar up all the time. So after that, as long as my bleeds are up, I'll get more combo points, pop Savage Roar, then I'm good for that. Just keep spamming, keep those bleeds up, gotta refresh my rake. Got 5 more combo points, my rip's about up, so I'll use that for a rip. Now, once I get out of energy, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm low on HP, I will run out and I'll heal and then charge back in, and just keep tearing through it some more, keeping those bleeds up all the time. I will, if I'm full on HP and I'm out of energy, I switch into bear form, go mangle, maul, and 1 lacerate, and if mangle procs, use that again, then switch back to cat and you're at full rage already. And I just keep doing that over and over again, and that's basically the rotation for Feral. Just keep that Savage Roar up and those bleeds. And like I said, it's all situational. If you need to run out and heal, you heal and then charge back in. You'll have full energy again. I mean, it's pretty basic rotation. Just bleeds and Savage Roar, and there you go. That's the rotation that I use for Feral Druid. Alright, it's time for the Feral Druid macros. Alright, my first macros, they're all the same. They're just basic form shifting macros. I have one for bear, cat, and travel form. Now what this does is /cast, exclamation point travel form, exclamation point travel, and exclamation point bear form. What that'll do as it instantly shifts you. I mean, there's no spamming your keybinds to form switch. It just instantly does it to get out of those slows and roots. This is by far the best macro you'll ever use as a druid. Alright, macro number 2. And by the way guys, these will all be in order in the description below, so you just gotta go down and find them in the order they were given. Number 2 is the burst macro. Every Feral Druid should have a burst macro. I mean, when you pop your cooldowns, you pop them all at the same time. I mean, it goes together. Berserk goes with Trinket and Incarnation. You just do a buttload of damage. So what this one does is it'll pop your Tiger's Fury, your Incarnation, your Trinket, and your Berserk, and a potion. You can put anything into this macro, pop it all. But like I do, just pop it, and you go in there for some ass whooping. Just like that. Simple, 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 simple. And that's your burst macro. Alright, another macro that I got is Focus Skull Bash. Now over here I have these guys marked. So say you're attacking this guy and another guy comes in, you set him as your focus, you're still over here just raping this guy. Say that other guy is going to cast Shadow Bolt, you use that macro, You interrupt him without even switching targets. Now I also have another macro for Faerie Fire, which will do the exact same thing. You're on this target and that guy's a rogue or something, you just control A, bam. Didn't even have to switch, and he has Faerie Fire up on him. I like those macros. I also have a focus cyclone, a focus hibernate. You'll really want to use those if you're in arena. Now this one right here, for what is it called, nature swiftness, you want to put that and healing touch in a cast sequence macro, so that way you don't have to press two different keybinds, but also at the same time you can press it once and all it does is pop nature swiftness for an instant cyclone, root, or anything. But if you want to heal, you press that same button again and you gotta heal. Also, you got all your cooldowns: survival instinct, spark skin, might of Ursock, nature's grasp, and health stone. Now if you're in a sticky situation, you just press that, bam, all your cooldowns are popped. That one there will really come in handy. You run away, you charge, and I mean that macro right there, it'll really come in handy. My last macro is if you have engineering and you have the glove enchant, Tiger's Fury, and that gives you a little bit more agility, 480. But if you don't have agility, don't worry about that. And that's about it for my macros. And that's basically it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this guide that I threw together, and I hope you'll leave me with a thumbs up and a subscribe, because I put up Feral PvP videos quite frequently. So if you like Feral PvP, I'm one to subscribe to, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.